All right. Hey, hey, hey. It's Dr. Rachel. Thanks for joining me. Every Friday we go live talking about different things that when it comes to sex and relationships. And for those of you where this is just our first time meeting, I'm family medicine physician and a clinical sexologist. And I pride myself on keeping it simple, keeping it real. And, we've done everything here from anal sex to cuckolding to, you name it. But I'm all about sex and relationships. So I'm family medicine physician, clinical sexologist, and usually when I go live on YouTube and then syndicate to Facebook and Periscope and all those good places, that our discussions are usually about sex and relationships. And today, here's the thing. There's so many of you who are meeting people online, kind of dating, or maybe even meeting them in person, and you're going back and forth texting and DMing, and all hell falls apart. Everything falls apart before it even gets started, and you end up like, what happened? Where did I go wrong? So there's so much going wrong with the texting and the direct messaging game that I just kind of wanted to take a minute and show you the science behind some of that, right? I feel like my camera is like tilted. Okay, cool. So, but what I always like to do, and what's really important to me, is the science behind all of this, right? So I think with science, we have to, you think about old school rules like dating rules, and like the guy calls the girl and the girl waits until the guy comes to pick her up, and all that type of stuff. But what I'm starting to realize is that a lot of that old school stuff was really kind of based off of the basic science behind how the brain works, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the brain chemistry that's involved when you fall romantically for somebody, when you're like, you're thinking about them, you've got bubble guts, you've got butterflies, you're daydreaming, you can't eat, you can't sleep. Where does all that come from, and how do your text messages and your DMs smash all that away? Hey, Charlie. Charlita, what's going on? So with that being the case, kind of let's get started, because I always want to start with the science behind things so that you can know that I'm not necessarily going off of just like the air here. So when we're talking about attraction and romantic love, there are a few things that are involved, right? And it's dopamine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, and serotonin. Those are the 4 key hormones. But what we know about all of those hormones is that particularly dopamine is the one that fuels like attraction and looking forward to hearing from somebody and, daydreaming about them and all of that. And in order for this to become almost like obsession, almost like, oh my gosh, I can't stop thinking about them, I want to keep texting, I want to do all these things. In order for that to happen, what happens, and you see to the right or to the left, depending on what you're looking at, the serotonin goes down. And keep in mind that serotonin is that happy hormone, right? So you're like, how does serotonin go down if it's the happy hormone and you're supposed to be madly in love with someone or feeling them to the max? Well, what happens with serotonin is we need it to go down because serotonin is the thing that makes you feel like almost obsessed, right? And when we think about depression and anxiety, actually, serotonin is involved in that too. So that's why it being down, it's depressed during that. That's why when you are, kind of OCD about something or anxious about something, it's the same type of sensation, right? You get the bubble guts, you can't sleep, you're nervous, you can't eat. Well, it's a similar process to what's happening when someone is anxious or obsessed about something. So there's a very thin line between being obsessed and feeling really connected and romantically involved with someone. So now, what really has to happen, though, is look at the top. Dopamine has to be shooting up. And the only way that we can keep dopamine shooting up is if we keep the anticipation, the looking forward to it thing, right? So which brings me to the number one mistake that you guys are making when it comes to dating and direct messaging and texting. You're messaging too damn much. And the problem with this is that you're not giving anyone a chance to miss you. That's one. 2, now they're thinking you're a stalker, right? Because here it is, you're excited, you're like, oh my God, they text me back, oh, I'm so excited. But here's the thing, that's not translating through text messaging. So if you're constantly messaging them all day, Yeah, they know you're excited, but they're like, but dang, I mean, why is he or she so damn excited? Take a chill pill. So if you're messaging too damn much, this is going to 100% turn somebody away that may have been Mr. or Mrs. right now or right. And before you know it, they're gone because they're just like, this person's kind of crazy. They're just texting all damn day, right? So make sure that you're not texting too much. So here's what you should do. When you start a conversation with somebody, start the conversation and then end it through text message. Say, okay, I'll check in with you later, or holler at me later, or whatever. And then this next part is really important. Then you can't get overly emotional if you don't hear right back from them, right? Because here's the thing. If you end up with a person who is texting you and direct messaging you all day long, let's be realistic about this here. One, they either don't have a job. Two, they are a stalker. Three, they don't really have a whole lot going for themselves. So here's the thing. You end up with a stalker because you actually like stalker tendencies, right? You like to hear from somebody all day. You want to know what they're doing all day, and that's fine. But the problem is that with certain individuals, you are going to run them away if you think that that's normal behavior. There are some people who can text all day and still be at work and keep their job. There are some, but the majority of individuals that have stuff going for themselves, they actually have to do things throughout the day. And if you get emotional every time you don't hear from them 5 minutes after you text, you are losing this game, okay? And please know that when at the early stages of dating, this is a game, right? And so in order to kind of win the game and be in the game, these are some things that you really, really want to keep in mind. So keep in mind, we're talking about the hormones here, right? We're trying to keep dopamine as high as possible. And so what we're going to do is kind of go through 5 ways that you are not doing that through your text messaging and your direct messaging. I'm tired of getting these messages. I don't know what happened, Dr. Rachel. Can you talk to me about it? Can you expound on this? Well, I'm telling you right now what's happening with these messages. If you want to translate as well through messages, some people are like, I'm just better in person. Well, we got to get good here too. Because most people want your text game and your direct message game to be on point before they even want to spend any time with you. So let's get this straight. And this is for people in their 20s and teens all the way up to the 60s. Text messaging and direct message dating is for everybody. So we got to give people distance. Charlie just said they can't stand feeling smothered. Absolutely, no one can. And if you feel smothered or you feel like somebody's doing it too much, first thing you do is you run, and you may be pushing away a person who you really might have had some great chemistry with. So it sends the message, I'm a stalker. It predisposes you to doing that thing we call TMI, giving too much damn information too early, because you're just texting, you're saying anything, you're thinking out loud through your text messages, so cut it out. And it sends also a sign that you've got too much free time and not enough going on for yourself. So even if you're home all day, and even if you do have a lot of free time, what do? You start the message, text for, some minutes or whatever, end it, and put your phone away so that you aren't tempted to ruin things in the meantime, right? Okay, so let's go to the next one. The next thing everybody is doing wrong. Asking a bunch of non-stimulating questions. Think about it like this. You're sitting in the car with your mom, right? And she's asking you 50 questions, right? I don't know about you, but to me, the last thing I want to do is answer a bunch of dang questions, right? So then, here it is, you meet someone and you're asking them a bunch of questions. What'd you eat today? How was your day? Da, 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 da. That does not show someone that you're interested in them, because those questions are duds. It's a bunch of just like filler questions. It's a bunch of questions that you ask people, that just sit around and don't have anything else to do. If you want to get into someone's psyche, you want them to remember you, you want them to check in with you, want to see what you're doing, you ask them stimulating questions. You give them scenarios. You ask them, so, if you were stranded on an island and you had to bring 2 albums, which one's is going to be? What does that do? That gives you information about what type of music they're into, right? You ask them, so, if someone offers you $6 million to like have sex with them in a public place and broadcast it live where millions of people are going to do it, are you going to do it? And what those types of things do is, keep in mind, let's go back to the science here. Where's my science screen? Keep in mind that when you ask stimulating questions, you're causing norepinephrine and adrenaline to go up, right? Which causes dopamine to go up. They're excited. You're giving them exciting questions, exciting information, and now they are equating you with excitement. If you're asking them what did they eat for dinner and this and this and that and what did you do today and how was your day, you are falling into the category as being as annoying as their parents are, right? So if you're going to ask a bunch of questions, which I think that you should, because that's really the only way you can get to know somebody, you really have to ask those questions in a stimulating way. Like, if you're going to take someone out for dinner or you want to go out to a fancy restaurant, what would be your number one pick? That's a much more interesting way of asking someone, well, what's your favorite food, right? So always think about ways that you can present yourself as an interesting person as opposed to a dud, right? We're trying to avoid dud syndrome. So then the other thing that you're running, this is really sad, being just like everybody else, right? After the first couple texts or DMs, now somebody asks for a dick pic or send me a naked picture of yourself and all of that. So it's fine to text and sext and send naked pictures of yourself, but you don't even know this person, right? So now you've obliged, they've asked you a bunch of times and you've decided to do it. So now there's nothing really special about you, right? So this whole thing, I want you to think about marketing, right? What's the first thing that they say at a sale, right? A limited time offer, right? What's the first thing if you sign up for some email list? What are they sending you? This is available for a short period of time. So get basic marketing here. So if you are showcasing yourself, you can't be just like everybody else, and you can't be super duper overly available, right? You have to create some form of what we call scarcity, meaning you're not always available, you're not always online, and you're not just like everybody else. You're not going to send the stupid little vagina picture or the penis picture or whatever, because ultimately all we really do when we get that is send it to our friends and be like, ooh, look how big, or ooh, look how small, or look, this person didn't shave, so you become a joke once you do that. So avoid becoming a joke by engaging and actually stimulating someone in other ways than that. Because let me tell you something. Google it right now. Say naked ass picture, naked penis picture, right? They're everywhere. So what you're doing when you're sending those is nothing special at all. All right, so let's see the next thing. Next thing that we're doing, which is crazy to me, is we are competing before you even know what the prize is, right? All stops are out. You're sending pictures. You're texting. You're doing this. You're thinking about all your posts as they regard to this person that's DMing you or texting you. And the problem with that is because you're giving this person way too much weight and you don't really know anything about them. Statistics show that when a lady meets a guy through online in some particular way, that the first time she meets him in person, 70% of those women are going to have sex with him right then and there. You have never seen the guy in person before. You've only seen what they've put up there on social media. And now all of a sudden, you're comfortable. Few text messages back and forth, you're comfortable saying, well, this guy is normal enough, fantastic enough, STD free enough for me to go and have sex with him. You don't know if he's crazy. You don't even know if he's who he said he was. So do a little research, and if you're actually asking stimulating questions, you can actually gather all of your data before you make a fool out of yourself, okay? And then the next thing, here is the big problem, getting emotional when you don't hear right back, right? I sent a message 2 hours ago and I haven't heard back. I sent a message 15 minutes ago and they usually get right back to me. What happened? Maybe they're not interested anymore. Maybe this. Hey, let me tell you something. what's happening to you when you do that is what I want you to learn how to do, is scarcity. Using the brain chemistry to your advantage, knowing that most times less is more. So if you text a little bit or send a few messages, you're engaging, you're funny, you're cute, you're flirting, and then you disappear for a little while, what have you done? You've given the person an opportunity to miss you, right? Think about it. Your favorite restaurant, if you had it every day of the week, you'd get tired of it. So unfortunately, life is just like that. So I don't want you to misrepresent yourself, and I don't want relationships to always be a game, but in order to capture someone's attention and keep them there when you're really using this mostly, you really do need to put some things in place so that you don't end up, pushing away everybody that you meet, and you don't end up with the stalker crazy types, right? So keep in mind the science behind all this. Let's go through it again. I want you to know that the science is where this is always at. So when you're attracted to someone and you're lusting after them and you're in that phase of, being like, oh my goodness, are they going to text? When do I get to see them? And all of that, your dopamine levels are going up. And dopamine fuels passion and attraction and just feeling really just excited about things. Dopamine and adrenaline, those go up, and that gives us our butterflies, right? Gives us our butterflies. We can't sleep, we can't eat, all of those types of things. And what's happening here is this is a stressful situation. So your cortisol, which is a big stress hormone, is up, right? Now, real relationships, eventually over time, if you stay with this person and this works out, eventually some of this mellows out. Like, for instance, you can't stay stressed out for years to come. So if you're with this person for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, the idea is we want the stress hormones to go down, the ones that give you butterflies. We want them occasionally, but we can't live with them up all the time because it'll actually make you sick. So as the dopamine stays up, the adrenaline, the testosterone, all these things that are fueling passion and energy and being interested in somebody, the serotonin goes down. And when the serotonin goes down, that's what's actually making you feel almost obsessed about it. So if you know your brain chemistry and you know the types of things that stimulate other people's brain chemistry to work the way you want it to, this is how you can actually have a little strategy with your text messaging as opposed to just putting yourself out there and not being on point, okay? So just to review one more time, messaging too damn much. Slow it down. Put limits on it, put time frames. End it like you do a phone conversation. Hey, how's it going? Go back and forth, go back and forth. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow, right? Give them an opportunity to not hear from you so that they can go and stalk your social media a little bit. Go see what you've been doing. Wonder what you're doing. Oh, well, she or he is still online. I wonder why they're not texting me. That's good, because that makes them think about you more. We call that a frustration reaction, right? Because what ultimately happens is as people get a little bit frustrated, like, gosh, I haven't heard from them. Oh, what does it do? It makes them be more interested. It draws them closer. We see it in primitive mammals, and we see it in men, and we see it in women. So whether you're a guy trying to get guys, or guys trying to get girls, or girls trying to get girls, or girls trying to get guys, it all works the same because we all have these primitive urges and drives to win, right? And so when you're using frustration reaction and frustration attraction to your advantage, what you're actually doing are planting seeds and, kind of facilitating a process where a person is interested in you and truly interested in you to the point where they're engaged, right? Instead of like, oh, here we go again. Da, 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 da. Unfortunately, we get so caught up in thinking that everybody's thinking just like us. Oh, I'm excited, so I'm just going to text, and they're excited to hear from me too. Nope, it doesn't really work like that. So slow it down and back up. So messaging too much. Then we've got asking a bunch of non-stimulating questions. That's what people's parents do. Nobody wants that, I hate to get in the car from the airport and my mom asks me 20 different things. Don't be that person. Ask stimulating questions that will, one, get you closer to knowing who this person is and get them stimulated and excited that you're even, in tune enough to even ask some of these cool questions. So be very strategic about the questions that you're asking. 4, being just like everybody else. The minute you meet a guy, what is it, ladies? The minute you meet a guy, we know you text him enough, what is he going to do? Send over the dick pics. Okay? Don't be just like everybody else, because you might be really cool and you might be, the perfect match here. But if you're doing silly stuff and making it seem like you're just like everybody else, nobody's going to be interested in it. And it goes the same for the ladies, okay? And then competing before you know what the prize is. Here, you are putting all the stops out. You're doing phone sex. You're sending sex messages. You're sending titty pictures. You're doing everything possible before you even know who this person is, right? So you are competing before you even know what the prize is. Who does that? That's like buying a $100 raffle ticket and they haven't even told you what you could win yet. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna spend $100. Well, what is the prize here? So figure out what the prize is before this. And then, of course, getting emotional when you don't hear right back. It's a good thing if you don't hear right back, because maybe they're out making money, right? Wouldn't that be a good thing? Or maybe they're out saving the universe, or taking care of their mama. So always give people the benefit of the doubt when you don't hear right back. But keep in mind, too, that frustration reaction is happening to you. When you don't hear right back, what's it doing? It's making you want to hear from them even more. So as you're using game, recognize game, too. And then I want to make sure that you know that when you meet somebody and you're engaging and you're listening and you're texting and all of this, figure out what your intentions are. And once you figure out what your intentions are, then you can best manage the situation. Is this just going to be a hookup? Because if that's fine, then none of this matters, all right? Is this going to be somebody that you potentially want a relationship with? And if it is, don't kid yourself into thinking, well, I'm going to start it out like a hookup and then it's going to magically morph into a relationship. It just doesn't work like that, particularly not in the age of technology, because there's too many different options to hook up. And sex is like your favorite restaurant. With the same person, eventually it gets played out. It just does. And if there's nothing else to fill in the bubbles there, if there's nothing else, no excitement, no fun, no learning, no joy, then it just becomes like, next one. All right. So I hope this stuff works, and I hope it helps you, because this is what I'm all about, is really trying to educate and keep us in this game, right? Because honestly, being single is fun and fancy, but it would be ideal, in my mind, if we could all eventually find our soulmates and be in a relationship. So for those of you who are new and don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Rachel Ross, and I go live every Friday here on YouTube, and we syndicate it to Facebook and Periscope and everything like that. A family medicine physician and a clinical sexologist and founder of the Dr. Rachel Institute. So if you're interested in becoming a sexologist or a love coach, check out our program where we certify sexuality coaches who do basically what we just did, which is actually coaching individuals and couples to better relationships, better sex, and everything in between. So it's great hanging out with you guys. Enjoy your weekend. I know I'm about to get mine started, and I will see you next week. Take care.